I think you got a glimpse into what Georgia, particularly Kirby Smart and Todd Monken, I think you got a glimpse into what they were seeing on the practice field, in the locker room, in off-season workouts. How many times have we talked about, I'm not talking about Georgia right now, but any team that has a battle for the starting quarterback, and we immediately go to the cliche, right? You know the one I'm talking about. The team's going to tell you. If it's close, the team will tell you who the starting quarterback is. Because they're generally going to gravitate to one guy. You're going to have a guy that they make plays for on a consistent basis. That guy was Stetson Bennett. And all of the people that were calling for JT Daniels to replace Stetson Bennett, was JT Daniels capable? Sure. But was he a better choice for Georgia? I think it's pretty clear now that it's all said and done and you kind of got that peek behind the curtain. There's a reason Stetson Bennett was the guy. And it's because he was the guy for Georgia this year.
We saw so much of that last night, too. And I go back to something we've said a few times on this show. When you imply that JT Daniels would have been the better option during the course of that game last night, you are saying that you believe Kirby Smart and Todd Monken are actively choosing to play the lesser option at the most important position on the field in the biggest game of all of their careers. You think that is what they're doing, okay, but I saw some of that last night. If JT Daniels can walk, he needs to be in this game. What about anything he's done tells you that he could have gone in that game and beaten Alabama last night? What about anything he's done tells you that? Nothing at all. It was always a crazy sentiment to me to begin with, and I'm really happy for that kid. I say he's a kid. I mean, he's not that much younger than me at this point, but he is the story that they, in the pregame, were trying to sell us that Bryce Young was. You've heard that earlier in the season too, right? Have you seen it where, oh, nobody believed in me and doubters and haters and all that stuff? No, Stetson Bennett, he's a guy that nobody actually believed in.
Yeah, what Kirk Herbstreit, kind of in comparing the two, made kind of the unassuming comment that Bryce Young had taken the more traditional route to being a starting quarterback at the University of Alabama. You know, being a guy who had an offer from every college football team in America and was a star in high school and came in and was expected to be the next great at Alabama in a line of great quarterbacks. Yeah, that was the road. And, I mean, unless you weren't paying attention, the road for Stetson Bennett was from South Georgia, 3A high school, under-recruited, some small mid-major offers. Georgia's his dream school, goes as a preferred walk-on, not getting anywhere, needs to get some playing time, goes to Jones College in Mississippi, has an okay year. I think they went 8-2. Kirby Smart in 2019 offers him a scholarship. He comes back to Georgia. And what, in 2020, he was, last year, right, going into last season, he was 4th on the depth chart. Right?
Right, because they had the Wake Forest
DeJuan
transfer.
Mathis. JT Daniels comes in. And the kid from Wake Forest.
Who never played there, but transferred
Jamie Newman?
There. Yeah.
Transfers in. Now, Newman ends up not taking a snap, so now they're down a guy. JT Daniels gets hurt, and DeJuan Mathis is terrible. And has continued to be terrible elsewhere, by the way. Has transferred to Temple and was just brutal at Temple. There's a lot of talent there with DeJuan Mathis, but it has not translated to college football. And so it was like a year ago because of the JT Daniels injury, because JT Daniels did come on and play well, especially at the end. Stetson Bennett IV became the de facto starter last year for Georgia. And then JT Daniels finishes it up. And the assumption is that JT Daniels is going to be the starter, and there's like a coronation for him going into this year. Then he gets hurt again. Guess what? Stetson Bennett wins the team over and plays really well. Did they ask Stetson Bennett to do as much as some quarterbacks are asked to do? No. But guess what? Had JT Daniels been the starter, they would not have asked him to do as much as some starting quarterbacks do because they had the best defense in college football. They had an offensive line they believed in, and they had a running game that was really good. And so they didn't need, regardless of who their signal caller was, to throw it 45 times a game. They just didn't. And oh, by the way, for a big part of the season, Georgia's best wide receiver, George Pickens, was out with an ACL injury. He made his season debut in the SEC championship game. Then he plays a little bit against Michigan. He has a huge catch last night. So
it's just an incredible story. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that draws us to sports, right? With all due respect to Bryce Young, who every interview I listen to him, he's so impressive. He's a really impressive guy. Doubt. And he's going to get drafted very early in the first round and be a great NFL. I mean, he's got it all. Some of the throws he made last night in the windows that he made them in under pressure, he's special, and he's going to be special. But he's always been elite. Cliff Kingsbury, the current head coach for the Arizona Cardinals, offered him a scholarship when he was 14. He's always been on top. The Stetson Bennett story is why we love sport, why we're drawn into sports, why we're so poetic about it. Again, he had to wear a mailman's hat to camps because nobody would look at him otherwise. Because he was too small, not athletic enough, not impressive, unassuming, didn't have arm strength. So he would wear a goofy hat to get people at the camp to look at him. And he wouldn't quit. Played at Jones College in Jones County, Mississippi, just to get some playing time.
Mm-hmm.
And then he goes and wins a national championship. That's the story that draws me into sports. It's that kind of stuff that, movies are written about. The Kurt Warner movie, right? Very similar story. Nobody believed in Kurt Warner. He was bagging groceries. He was counted out. He played at a smaller league just to get playing time and was counted out over and over and over again, and look at what he became. I'm not saying Stetson Bennett's going to have a long NFL career or anything like that, but that story of his gets movies. It's a great story. I have no emotions going into the game, but I found myself really happy